This is Las Vegas Real Estate Now, where we bring you the 3 E's: educate, empower, and engage. I'm your host, Harvey Blankfeld, along with our co-host, Shelley Brown, and we've been selling homes here in Southern Nevada since 1988. Shelley and I are also very proud to be part of the Real Estate Radio Network. That is a national network of local real estate professionals delivering timely, balanced truths about local market conditions. With us in studio, we have Kari Phillips from Southern Fidelity Mortgage and Steve Schauer from New American Funding. Hey, listen, today we're going to do something different. We're going to do a panel discussion with you guys and talk about the implementation of these new documents, this new procedure. And so what we thought we would do is first I want to talk about, and look, guys, just chime in. Just jump in. We're going to talk about this stuff. The first thing I want to talk about is the new forms. Steve, are they better or worse?
That's a tough question, Harvey. I like them in the long run potentially better. It's getting used to them right now that makes it a little worse.
I think that's a great response. What do you think, Kari?
I love them. Okay. I thought the good faith estimate was very confusing for a consumer because it had the seller costs on there, and we'd have to explain, okay, we have to charge it here, but then here's a credit here, and then you've got to connect the dots here and go over here and do a turn and
So you both agree the new documents are better, and I agree also the implementation of them is going to be the challenge we're facing right now.
Yeah, it really, just like any change, it's just getting used to it, and then it's just like we had that change in 2008 and 2010. It was tough at first, but then we were like, it was like riding a bike.
We're all used to it.
You were all used to it. Now it's that change.
Okay, so the first form is the loan estimate, the LE, and that form is taking the place of the good faith estimate and the truth in lending statements. So you've got one document overtaking two. Again, better probably, right?
Very consumer friendly. It's easy to read.
Very easy to read.
Very easy to read.
Very simple.
And the response has been good?
The response, the clients don't know any different because if they're buying how they don't remember what a good faith estimate looked like 6 years ago or 3 years ago or whatever. But to be honest with you, when they're in front of me, it is a lot easier to explain. The loan estimate has your APR, has your interest rate, has the actual interest and finance charges on it that they're going to accrue for the first 5 years. Is it, Steve? I mean, that's what it's on there now.
It's 5 years.
And then on the second page, it's it has all the costs broken down. That's just the buyer costs. It doesn't have seller costs in there.
Correct.
It doesn't muddy the water. It's very clear.
Getting beyond the loan estimate, now we get to the other document, which is the one that's to me is the one that, as a realtor, I'm most concerned about, called the closing disclosure, and the closing disclosure. Again, I think Shelley, you'll agree, it's simplified for the buyers as we've seen it. We've seen the summation on that first page is like, okay, yeah, I can see everything I need to see on page one.
Right.
I don't have to go digging in here to find stuff. It's all there. It's the summation of everything is very nicely done on the top page. So, and I agree. I think I have to agree also that in terms of what the clients are seeing, what the buyers are seeing, is they don't know necessarily there's a big difference here.
They do not see that, correct.
They don't see a comparison. Oh, this is what we did before, this is what we did next. Because maybe what they did before was 7 or 8 years ago, and they have no clue as to what that was.
Right.
But as we talk about the changes and as they've been implemented, I'm wondering, in terms of processing the loan, in terms of delivering the closing disclosure, because now we have deadlines. We have deadlines that have to be implemented. Steve, have you had any experience or problems with these deadlines?
Not yet, just because we all know the closing date.
Right.
And we'll just back it up and say, here's the CD, the closing disclosure needs to go out this date. Otherwise, we're not going to make that disclosure.
Kari, you were talking about the people who don't have access to electronic transmission or electronic email or whatever, and they've become somewhat of an issue in this process. Is that right?
Well, I wouldn't call it an issue because we all like to receive documents the way we like to receive documents. If you're not comfortable with the email, then that's okay. Everybody has to be prepared that it will delay things. For someone, just to recap, someone getting an email, e-consents, and then 3 days pass and then they can sign. The first day counting the day that they e-consent. If you have someone that does not want to e-consent, they would rather have the closing CD or the CD, the closing disclosure, sent to them via mail. It's sent one day, and then we assume that you receive it on the third business day, and then the 3 days start on the fourth day.
Correct.
And then 3 days have to pass there. Then you can go in and sign. So it essentially could delay things by a minimum of 3 days, and that's only if the client does not have any changes to the CD that would impact the APR by more or less than an eighth.
Steve, I wanted to ask you, I keep hearing this word e-consent, and I want to clarify that because in my mind, I'm a little bit confused. The idea is that first you get their permission to do electronic stuff. Is that the e-consent?
That's the e-consent.
Okay,
correct.
then do
right
they
up
have
front.
to do a separate thing to accept the CD?
Everything, yes, everything.
Okay, that's a separate thing.
That's a separate thing to consent that. So they're e-consenting first that we send them documents.
Right. It's okay for you to send me electronically. I'm okay with that.
We're consenting to that. Then we're sending them the loan disclosure and the CD, all e-consenting.
Okay, so then when they receive the CD, they still have to push a button or something saying, yes, I got it.
Correct.
And then the 3 days starts.
That's our signature date. That's what we're using.
They actually produce their own password and
Correct.
everything.
So we know it's them.
Well, actually, we're using the same password. So when they e-consented from the beginning, it's the same password when
they
they're
can
going
set up
to
their
the
account.
CD.
Right, but for us, we started at the beginning, at their disclosure time.
Of course.
We have them do e-consent at that point. So what you're saying, Harvey, though, was they e-consent and then they receive the CD. They're e-consenting 4 weeks prior.
No,
to
I
that
understand
point.
that, but my concern is this, is that when you say e-consent, I don't want my listeners to be confused with the idea that they've consented early on to get electronic documents. They still have to...
They have to consent
the clock
CD.
doesn't start ticking until they accept the CD.
Correct.
That's where the timeline starts.
So let's just, again, if someone sent it out on a Monday, if the CD went out on a Monday, they have to e-consent to that CD on that Monday. Otherwise, the 3 days does not start
until they actually do.
Until they e-consent that date.
To me, and what Shelley brings up to me is an important change that we've heard throughout this process in terms of the implementation. First we heard was the 3 days is a pretty hard thing. Then we've heard it's more or less a minimum is instead. So the 3 days is not
correct
anything other than just a minimum. So you could actually sign papers 3 days later, but not fund for as much as 10 days beyond that. I mean, so as long as here's the thing, and this is the key for me. The seller has been kind of left out of the process in this thing, and this is kind of disappointing, and it's something we want to get into maybe after the bottom of the hour. But the key as a real estate agent in this process is that we thought we were getting, we're not really getting. What we thought we were getting is a finite time.
A real date.
Yeah,
we
thought
don't have a real date.
We lost it. What we got is... we know, but here's what we do know now, and Shelley and I discussed this at length, obviously. At least we know it can close now. And in other words, that's the thing we can say as an agent or a buyer. Hey, I know I can close because all these documents are done.
I remember the day previous when you used to go to signing, and after you sign the loan, things could change. Remember way back 15 years ago, after you sign. Today, pretty much when you're signing,
it's done.
You have to be because we're all reserving funds for that. We know the loan's going to fund. There could be some minor things happen, but at that point, you know it's going to close.
The seller was kind of left out of the process. And as agents, Shelley and I have been dealing with the idea that when the buyer gets all this stuff, the seller or listing agent isn't always in the loop. Are you guys making any efforts on your part in your procedures to see to it that the seller or listing agent is staying in the loop?
Listing agent,
Listing agent,
yes.
They're CC'd when the docs go out, when the CD goes out, gives expectations. We actually, when we get what's called a clear to close, that means a final approval, and it gives expectations to the buyer, the listing agent, and the buyer's agent that says, here's what to expect from here. Within 24 hours, we'll have our CD out, and this is what a CD is, and it gives a definition of what a CD. The
important thing is do I know when they got the CD? That's the important thing I want to know.
Yes,
that's the thing.
We've found, and Steve, maybe you can. I don't know if you're going to agree with this or not, but when you create the disclosure, the funding person, our funding person, has to go back and forth with title, and if title's good, we'll get it same day. We'll be able to issue it same day. But you have some title companies that have taken 2 days, 3 days, and 4 days to getting to making changes, and
it all has to be perfect on this disclosure going out.
Our disclosure going out,
absolutely
right. And
so it's hard for us to give a drop dead date.
I do want to take the heat off of you. You got to get the information from the title company, and we always say, why do you wait till the last minute to approve a loan? Well, you wait till the last minute to approve a loan because the buyer didn't get you the documents that you asked them
100%.
2 weeks
and
ago.
I love you for saying that because it all goes on to the lender. Oh, you waited till the last minute. Well, guess what?
Well,
your buyer took 7 days to get us 15 things that we've been asking for 7 days every single day.
As we get to the wrapping this thing up, guys, and talking, I want to talk about the closing date. How long should we take? How long should we write escrows now? In other words, I mean, I've heard, how we can still do it in 30 days. I've heard, make it 45. I've heard, well, we better make it 60. Steve, with your company, what do you say? What
I'm
will you
going to
tell
say
me?
right off, I think it's conceivable and possible to make a 30-day closing. It all depends on the buyer, though.
Okay.
And the title company.
And the title company.
Okay.
I have no problem with a 30-day closing.
Okay.
I have no problem with that whatsoever because we plan ahead of time and say, here's what we have to do.
Okay.
But I'll have to say that as long as everybody realizes if it takes them a couple of extra days because of the holidays, because of this or that, we all realize that.
Yeah, the buyers also have to realize that you're waiting 3 days to get them something early in the process can slow it down at the end of the process.
Correct.
That's what happens.
Right.
And so keep that in mind. Okay, good. Kari, same thing?
No, I think that it's we can definitely do it in 30, but to set expectations up right from the beginning to a borrower, because they're going to starting to be emotional at the 29th day. If we close on the 33rd day, they're going to be ticked. But if we say 45 days and we close at the 33rd day, we're all going to look like superstars. They're going to be happy and less stressful. It really depends on the buyer getting our stuff to us and communication and the title company's response times. And that's too up in the air and non-controllable sometimes. So 40 to 45 days is my opinion.
You've been listening to Las Vegas Real Estate Now with hosts Harvey Blankfeld and Shelley Brown. Please tune in every Saturday at 11 a.m. right here on News Talk 720 KDWN.